The coronavirus is running rampant in the United States right now. At this present time, there are a total of 16 cases in the state of Michigan in one day. So basically, it's gone from two cases to 16 altogether. Our guest today, um, she has the virus, but she has a very mild case of it. Not sure what to expect or what to what to exactly think about this, but I brought her on to share her story. So let's get it. Yeah. Let's get
Mhm.
started.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm LaBert the Jerk. It is Friday, March 13th, 2020. And I have a special guest for you guys today. We have Mrs. M from Maryland. And Mrs. M, go ahead and tell everyone what has transpired with you within this past week or so.
Good afternoon, everyone. On the morning of 3:10, I woke up not feeling well. I initially thought that the symptoms that I had were allergy related. Some of the symptoms I had was a low grade fever, nauseousness, a severe headache, feeling exhausted, chills, a upset stomach, and a dry cough. And I didn't think anything otherwise. I just thought, these are allergies. I'm gonna take Allegra. I'm going to work. I have meetings to go to.
Right.
But as I continued throughout the morning, the symptoms became progressively worse. I literally could not sit still in meetings. I wasn't focused. I couldn't pay attention because I was having so many symptoms at the same time, and it was happening during these meetings. Um, I eventually decided I was going to leave work. So I left that meeting to go to my car, but on the way to the car, I had to stop a couple of times to catch my breath because I couldn't continue the pace.
Right. So, what initially what did you think? What like inside? What did you really think was wrong? Did you just think that it was like a maybe a sinus infection or you were coming down with a little cold or something like that?
Well,
how
I
did
was
you think?
so initially I just thought it was allergies, and the reason why I say that is because every year I have difficulties with allergies, and I have to take Allegra to combat any of those symptoms.
Right.
The severe headache was the sign. I was like, oh, okay, it's just allergies. The pollen is blooming. The day before it had been 70 degrees. I was like, yeah, it's time. So I just did what I would normally do, which is to take the allergy medication.
Okay. So, after you took the allergy medication and you was hoping for some type of relief or something, to get you over this hill. When did you finally realize that you know what? Maybe I need to just make an appointment to go to the doctor, or maybe I need to just go.
If we were on the last leg of a meeting, and I could not. I was like, I hope this is the last statement because I can't take it. In my head, I'm saying this. And as soon as that person stopped talking and they said we could dismiss, I was gone. Um, I said, I am out of here. I'm done for the day. That's it. Like, I just can't, I was like, I can't take it. So that's when I started walking to my car and I started having to stop and things like that. But I finally made it to my car. And then I had to go to another building to let them know that I needed to leave for the day. So I did all of that. And then I got in my car to drive home. And I was just going to go ahead and schedule an appointment when I got home, or just talk to the provider over the phone to let them know what was going on. But it took a while when I got home. So finally, someone calls me back and they're like, okay, well, we have 3 of the 4 symptoms of the COVID-19, so you need to be seen. What we're going to do is call the Department of Health. But what ended up happening was I was kind of out of it. I fell asleep. And then I looked at my phone and realized that nobody had called me back. And I was like, nobody's called me back.
So how long was the time that lapsed that you realized that no one called you back?
A few hours.
A few hours.
It was a few hours. And so then I started calling them back. And then they put me back in the rotation of, because there's like a rotation for them to call you back. Right. They put me back in the rotation to return my call. But at this point, it's close to 5 o'clock. And I'm like, Department of Health actually closes at 4 and 5 o'clock. Like, this is not going to be good.
Right.
So anyway, they called back later, but it was too late because I had already called Department of Health myself. Okay. I went online and found a physician's letter, where at the bottom of the letter, it had the number to call to report COVID-19. Okay. And I called that number.
So you basically just took it upon you. You basically just took it upon yourself to be proactive. It's like, you know what? These people are not calling me back. They're not calling me. They're obviously not calling me back in a timely fashion. So you say, look, I'm gonna just get online, find this number, and I'm gonna call them myself.
Yep, that's exactly what I did.
Because you felt like something was wrong.
Yeah, I did. I felt like something was wrong. The symptoms just weren't. They were odd. I realized at the end of the meeting earlier that morning that it wasn't allergies. I was like, this is not allergies, because I would not be behaving this way. I could make it through the day, no big deal. Right. But I realized that it wasn't, and I knew something was wrong. So the phone number that I called was for a physician line, and someone picked up. And she asked me if I was a physician, and I told her no. I said, I'm not, but I'm calling to report myself, because the physician was supposed to call and report, but they haven't called me back yet, so I'm doing it for him.
Right.
So she was like, oh, okay. So I told her what was going on with me. I told her the symptoms I had. She said, okay, I'm going to have the epidemiologist call you back. She was like, just give us 30 minutes. And the epidemiologist called me back within 30 minutes.
Well, and at least they were on time. At least they were timely.
Yes. And I spoke to him for a few minutes, and he did advise me that it was okay to go to the emergency room, but he wanted me to call them first and let them know that I was coming. Okay. So I did do that. And the lady at that answered the phone in the ER was like, don't come. And I'm thinking to myself, why? And I was like, they told me to come. So, and she's like, no, we need to triage you. We need to see if you meet the criteria. I said, I have 3 of the 4 symptoms, and I named it off to her.
Right.
And so then she said, so she was trying to get me to do something different. I don't know what she was trying to get me to do, but I told her, I said, hey, I'm coming right now. I'll be there in about an hour. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I did. I went and I identified who I was when I walked in the building, so that I would not infect anybody, just
Right.
so they could give me a mask and plan accordingly. So it that was an interesting experience just to have them tell me no, and then because they wanted to do something different.
Right. I mean, I can kind of imagine what was going through your head. Like, wait a minute, what do you mean no? You know, I just got
Right.
the
I mean,
okay to come, and you're telling me no? What? Like, what is going
right.
on?
Mhm. So
So,
then I once I got there, they went ahead and gave me had me set up and everything, but they placed me in a family room by myself. And
okay.
then when the doctor came in to talk to me, to have a conversation with me, he came in fully dressed. Yeah, he had everything on. And
So,
then he told me that they would escort me back to a space by myself.
so how did you? What was going through your mind then? Like, how were you feeling to yourself? How are you reacting to someone coming in fully dressed in all types of what can I say, hazmat gear or whatever?
Pretty much. He had on everything you're supposed to have on if it's a contagious or a highly contagious condition that you're treating. But I felt like, okay, he's taking it seriously. So this will be taken seriously. That's what I thought.
Right.
Um, and
How,
then,
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Oh, I was just going to say that, like maybe a few hours later, the nurse comes back in to escort me back to the room.
Hmm.
And I'm like, well, dang, where are we going? I'm like, whoa. I mean, it was in near the emergency room area, but it was all the way like in the back, around the corner in this area. And then when I got into the room, there's this loud machine, and I looked at it, and I was like, oh wow, I have my own breathing
Breathing
air.
machine.
Like
Right.
yes, like I am not breathing the same air as others. So
When they were moving you around and stuff like that, how were their attitudes? Were their attitudes very helpful and soothing, or were they just kind of like robotic and okay, do this, okay, do that, and that? You know, were they kind to you?
they were kind to me. They were definitely busy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like busy, busy. When I arrived to the emergency room, they told me it would be 6 hours before I was seen.
Wow, 6 hours.
Yes, that's what they told me. He told me that after he gave me the mask, he said, ma'am, it'll be about 6 hours before we can see you. And I looked at him and I said, okay. I just figured the next day I wouldn't be going to work anyway, so it just kind of doesn't matter.
Right. So were you able to
um,
use your phone? Were you able to like use your phone and stuff like that, or did you really have time to
yes.
grab your phone and your charger and all that other good stuff?
I carry around my charger in my purse, so I already, I had my purse with me,
Okay.
and the charger was inside my purse. So.
Were you able to reach out to your family and let them know what was going on, or?
Yes, I could do that. After a while, it was kind of late, so I just didn't bother to tell anybody anything until the next day.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Mhm.
I understand that. That makes sense. You
Mhm.
really don't want anybody to really start to worry unless it's like really absolutely necessary.
Right.
Hmm. Okay. So what else happened?
I was in this room by myself. Uh, And the doctor came back in and just advised me he would be testing me for all of the upper respiratory um, conditions, all of them to include the flu.
Okay.
That's the protocol prior to testing for COVID-19. So he was following the protocol.
Okay.
And then someone came in and took my blood, and they took an X-ray. And about 2 hours later, they came back and told me that my test results came back negative, that everything that they took,
Mm-hmm.
everything they tested was negative. So all the upper respiratory conditions were um were negative. And he was like, but he said you have mild symptoms of COVID-19, and advised me that the Department of Health had told him not to test me because I had mild symptoms,
Right.
and to go home and self isolate for 1 to 2 weeks. And so I didn't have a problem with that, except here's the kicker to all of this for me. I have a 20-year-old daughter,
Okay.
and my 20-year-old daughter is doing peritoneal dialysis at home.
Okay. So
So
so that
she is,
complicated a lot of things.
yeah, she has a compromised immune system. And so we cannot have illnesses and sickness and people, having issues in the
Mm-hmm.
house. And we,
Mm-hmm.
and, we prided ourselves on trying to keep it safe and clean for her. But I was coming back with something that I had to isolate from the rest of the family. Um,
Okay. Okay.
and so that was really part of my concern. And the other part of that concern for me was the a number of people that I come into contact with daily. I began to think about those numbers, and I'm like, I don't know when all of this started. So I can't even go back and put my finger on a time or date. Um, and I could have been exposing other people and I would not have
And
known.
you wouldn't have known it because of the incubation time.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Um. Well, what type of special since you were able to go home because the symptoms you had were mild and the
Mhm.
doctor suggested that you come home and wait and see. How long did he give you to wait and see? 2 weeks? 14 days?
He told me that if my symptoms persist or become worse, to return back to the hospital.
Hmm.
And he didn't give me a time frame.
So
No
so
time frame was provided.
so what do you think is going on? Do you think this is something mild and it'll eventually go away? I mean, how do you feel about it?
Um, I do think it's something mild. I do think it's something that will potentially go away.
Hmm.
Um, I just the way things were handled, I think is wrong, because I'm following the protocol of going home and staying isolated away from the family and away from other people.
Right.
Um, but what are other people doing? And
Exactly.
so that to me, that concerns me. The other part that concerns me is the number of people that I have come into contact with.
Right.
And so that is another issue for me. You know, I don't know when this started, so I'm not
Right.
sure what to say.
Because
Um,
because potentially you could possibly not you can I don't want to say that you are, but it's possible that you could be a carrier for this particular virus. And
it's possible.
right. And
So it concerns
I
me.
know I
The
know it
whole
worries you.
thing concerns me.
I absolutely understand, that you're very worried. What are some things that you would want the healthcare professionals to really concentrate on, that to make the investigation a little bit more comfortable for other people, if they come down with this virus, or even in the same condition that you're in? What what
Honestly, just I honestly just think they need to figure out a plan, develop enough tests, and test people
Right.
because that's the only way you're going to get it under control. You can't tell people with mild symptoms to go home and self isolate and hope that they self isolate. That's not how it works.
Right. Because I would have thought it would be something a little bit more elaborate, like setting up some type of, plastic bubble type curtains in your room, or something like that, that you more than likely will hang out in. And then if you decide that you want to fix you something to eat, or you want to bathe yourself, you have like a little plastic hazmat suit, or something like real light that you can that you can wear around the house, so you won't compromise your daughter's condition.
I mean, she and I explained this to her
Hmm.
from a distance, of course.
Hmm.
And so she stays away from me, and I stay away from her. If she needs something, she texts me. And that's how we do things.
Okay.
If she needs something, she'll talk to someone else in the house and get whatever it is that she needs from them.
Okay.
She knows that she can't come into contact with me, and she can't come in my room right now. So that's where we are.
Well, it's good that you have a great support unit in your household. That's great.
Yes.
That's definitely
Mhm.
great. And I want everybody to understand how important it is to have a good support unit in your home, especially when you're going through um the wait and see process, and the healthcare professionals are telling you, well, just go on home and you just wait a couple of days and we'll see where you're at. It's very important. So anything else you'd like to share with the audience before I let you
I would
go,
just
because
tell
I know you
people
need
to
to rest.
be careful. Just be careful. That's all.
Just be careful. I can understand that, and trust and believe. I'm gonna be honest with you. I wasn't really taking this virus very seriously. Um,
Oh.
but but I think, after hearing that there were two cases in Wayne County and Oakland County in Michigan, and they were at they were sent to a University of Michigan hospital, and then turn around and then now there's 12. Then there were 36 cases of coronavirus
Yes.
going on in a day.
I think that they're thinking that it can't be passed from person to person.
Hmm.
But that's not the case. If somebody has already tested positive or they actually have the virus and they haven't been tested yet and they're in your presence
Right. They're a
and
carrier.
they're talking to you or touching you, things like that, you can pick it up that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What is it? I think you have to be like what is it? The maximum of 12
six
feet away
feet.
from how many? Six
Oh, I
feet?
was going to say 6 feet. The doctor was saying
Yeah.
within 6 feet of the person.
Within 6 feet.
That is possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, I do find it amazing how a lot of posts on Facebook, um, they all of a sudden it's like things that we were taught as kids. as far as germs, viruses, and everything. Wash your hands, keep your hands out of your face. All these things that we were taught when we were younger. Now all of a sudden it's
Mhm.
like, oh, this is new information. No, it's not new information. We should have been already doing this, okay?
Right. Some people just don't do this, and so it's disturbing that they're not doing
it's
it.
it's
But
very disturbing.
my thing is, you should be washing your hands often. You shouldn't be touching your face without washing your hands, and sometimes you might
Exactly.
need to wash your face. Like,
Exactly.
I just don't
Things
understand.
simple. You, you, you know, I see these things and I hear these things and I think to myself, common sense is not so common anymore.
No, it's not.
It really isn't. It really isn't. Well, Miss M, I do appreciate you joining the show and telling everybody what happened, what transpired, and if someone else in your position uh, contracts this virus, what to expect.
Right.
And
Yeah, I think they're working on changing the rules, but they're starting to realize that sending people home to self isolate is not quite working.
it's not quite working. So they're really going to have
Hmm.
to start coming up with a better contingency plan for this virus if we're going to beat it.
Right.
You know. Um. But again, Miss M, I do appreciate you coming on the show and telling everybody your story. I really do. And for everyone in the audience that's watching this show, um, information about getting in contact with the health department, the 800 numbers that you need to contact if you feel that you have these symptoms and you think that you may be coming down with this virus. I will post them in the comments section below. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And if you have any more questions, you can email me at Labertdajerkshow@gmail.com. And also, you can leave your comment in the comment box below. Thank you, Miss M. Enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you feel better, and you're definitely going to beat this.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That's not a problem. All right, guys.